To Robin.
All right, so hello everyone. I know most of you already, but just for anybody who is newer, my name is Robin Rivas and I am the Associate Director for New Student Orientation. So I'm here today for all of you to give you some updates related to this season's orientation sessions, answer any questions that you may have about what orientation is looking like this year as we get started with the season. As most of you likely know or should know, our first transfer orientation is actually taking place this Friday. So the season is upon us. So for today's agenda, I do plan to introduce our new orientation coordinator. I want to share some information with you related to last year's number and how many people we had coming through orientation, updates to our orientation leader team for this year, as well as all of the updates related to our schedule and agenda for this year as well. So to get started, I do want to welcome Lindsay Spilos. She is our new orientation coordinator. She actually just officially started this Monday. Some of you may know her from her prior role in special events, and she actually worked closely with orientation last year as our special events coordinator. So we're really excited to have her on board and joining the team. So you'll see her around, but she is replacing Sean Foe. He left in January to go into nursing school. So Lindsay is now part of the team and we're very lucky to have her here. So with that, moving into last year's numbers. So just to give you an idea of how many of our new incoming students are attending orientation sessions, between April and August last year, we had over 7,000 people. This includes both new students as well as any guests that they had attend one of our FIDIAC or transfer orientation sessions. So we had over 3,000 new FIDIAC students, almost 1,400 new transfer students, as well as well over 2,000 guests total that we serviced just in those short few months there. This doesn't include our winter sessions. For those, we did see just under 500 people this last semester. So just to give you a sense of the scale, obviously you're all working with the students at these orientation sessions. But just when we're looking at it all together throughout the summer season, we are seeing and servicing a lot of individuals. And so I just want to start by really saying thank you to all of the work that you put in to help prepare for meeting with these students and for working with them during their orientation sessions, whether those are on campus or virtual. Now for this season, we will be holding 13 on-campus FIDIAC sessions. 2 of these will have an optional overnight piece. So for 2 sessions in June, on that Friday evening before, they will be able to come to campus if they choose to stay in Chatsworth Suites. They do not necessarily have to be living on campus this year or be thinking even about living on campus this year, but it is a really great opportunity for people who might want to just get a better picture or view of what student life might look like here at Wayne State. And so those overnight pieces are a great addition to orientation because it really is more of a casual hangout where they can get to know Wayne State in a less formal way than through the presentations and information that we share at orientation itself. For our transfer students, we do split those sessions. So we have 6 on-campus sessions and 6 virtual sessions for our transfer students, really just wanting to be as accommodating as possible because we know transfer students are often taking classes at other institutions before joining us. They may, have families or other commitments. They may have, full-time jobs. So really wanting to provide some additional flexibility for those individuals. And then at the end of the season, we will be offering 2 combination FIDIAC and virtual sessions, FIDIAC and transfer sessions. So those will take place the 2 weeks before classes begin. And these are really designed for students who, for one reason or another, were not able to attend an earlier session. We do not promote or even open registration for these sessions until, in all honesty, early to mid-August. We really try to keep it closed as long as possible and really only give that as an option for students who genuinely need it once we hit the end of the season. But ideally, most of our students are coming to us for an orientation session earlier in the season so we can get them ready for classes and the fall semester to begin. Now, as far as our orientation leader team goes for this summer, in addition to Lindsay joining us as the orientation coordinator, we will also have 25 student orientation leaders this year. Of the 25, that does include 5 returners from last year. So we have 2 of them who will be joining us for their 3rd season as an orientation leader, and 3 of them who will be joining us for their 2nd season as an orientation leader. So we're really lucky to have them returning. I'm very excited about all of our new folks as well. And it should be a really great season. In addition to those student staff, we will also have Tori Sidaway serve as our orientation tech this season. Tori actually served as an orientation leader the last 3 years, and she is graduating this semester. So she's going to be moving into a more professional role through our tech position, and she'll be primarily working with our parent and family programming this year. In addition to Tori, we will also have Jillian Gerard. She previously was an orientation leader as well, working with our pre-nursing folks. But she is going to be serving as our student office manager this summer, really ensuring then that we have coverage on our phones and emails, even while the orientation sessions are taking place, because our team is going to be downstairs or across campus working with the students and guests. Jillian will be really managing everything up here in the office to ensure that we're still able to service folks who have questions or who reach out during the orientation days. Now, as far as agendas changes to the schedule, I know that many of you are familiar with some of the changes that we have been making or have heard of these things. Many of these don't directly impact the advising portions of things, but I do want to make sure you're aware of what this is looking like. So what's happening this year is we have repurposed some of the time during our orientation day to allow for students to engage with campus partners in a little bit more of a meaningful or impactful way. So what this means is that rather than having a resource fair in the morning where students are kind of just walking through, grabbing materials, and not necessarily engaging super well, we are offering breakout sessions across a few different areas for students to be able to kind of more create their journey. We recognize that many of our students are coming into college at different places or wanting to focus on different areas, right? Some might be more interested in how to get a job on campus. Some might be more interested in getting involved in student life. They may have questions about billing and financial aid. So they come in with different concerns or different areas that they really want to focus on while they're here at orientation. And so these breakout sessions are going to allow them to kind of pick and choose a little bit more of their journey here at orientation. So what will happen is that our breakout sessions, we focus into 3 different categories. So we'll have an academics and career section, a campus life section, and a university business section. I just realized pre-med is not on this list, but it is there, I promise. And so they, students will be able to choose one of these different sessions during each of these time periods, but students will have the ability to get the materials for all of the sessions. Afterwards, we will be uploading it into the post-orientation Canvas course that students get access to once they've attended orientation. So again, students who maybe are part of the Honors College can choose that session for their academics portion. If they're interested in living on campus, then great, maybe they'll go to housing, and then they might want to learn more about parking and transportation options. So they'll be able to kind of pick and choose what their specific journey looks like. We're hoping that this allows students to, not only get up and move around a little bit, but also then again to focus on the areas that are of concern to them in that moment. We are working closely with the College Transitions Initiatives Office, led by LaTonya Garrett, and working really closely with Zach Krug to really then talk about what the rest of the onboarding experience looks like for students after orientation, including things like the Ready Week programming that their office is putting on, as well as fall opening, which is getting a new name of Warrior Welcome Week, and to make sure that our programming really moves smoothly into that programming as well to allow opportunities for students to get information about all of these different areas. A couple of other things just to point out where it relates to the FIDIAC agenda. Advising is still happening after lunch for all of the students, so the schedule on your end does not change. The plan is for them to arrive to you at about 1 p.m. to meet with academic advisors and get registered for courses. And then at the end of the day, rather than coming back to the student center, the orientation leaders will actually be taking them to the Success Hub in the UGL. And we'll be holding our end of day celebration called Day 1 over in the Success Hub instead. Before I move forward, any questions about the FIDIAC student schedule? Okay. If there is anything in the chat, I am not able to see it. So just so you're aware, it says only members of the team have access to chat. So yeah. Amanda, if there's anything in there, you'll have to read those to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. No, it's all just good morning stuff from earlier. Okay. So you're good.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure you were all aware. Awesome. So with that being said, we did make changes to the parent and family schedule as well to kind of mimic what we're doing with the student side. So in the afternoon for the parent and family portion, they will also have breakout sessions. Rather than having 3 blocks, they will actually have 4 blocks just because obviously they are not going with to advising and registration. So we do have more time with the parents and guests to be able to provide a variety of sessions for them. So their sessions are split into academic and career, campus safety and well-being, navigating campus and student life. So again, those will be taking place in the afternoon for those individuals, and then they will be brought over to the Success Hub at the end of the day to meet with their students once they have finished with all of you for advising and registration. And transfer is looking very similar. Again, we are going to have those same breakout sessions. This Friday's orientation will be the first time that we are utilizing these breakout sessions. So I know that there will be a learning curve with it. So please bear with me if there are any changes or anything that needs to happen. Again, there likely won't be anything you see on your end, but if you're hearing feedback from students or guests after Friday's session, please pass it along to me. Obviously, this Friday's transfer is smaller than our typical FIDIAC sessions. So it's a great way to kind of pilot this transition for all of our new students. And theirs are also broken up into academic success, campus life, and university business. I just didn't finish putting in the session titles here. So. Okay, before I move on to that, any questions at all about any of the agenda pieces? Amanda, anything in the chat?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, perfect. So the one big change this year that you all should hopefully see a positive impact from is related to placement exams. So I've been really working closely with Kelly and Andy related to the placement exam registration process and trying to improve what this looks like on the student side of things to really encourage the placement exams prior to orientation. I know that this has been a pain point for a lot of you, especially you who work in maybe the STEM fields, specifically with math placement exams. But what we've been able to do this year is we have been able to build placement exam registration into Slate and have integrated that directly into the orientation registration process. So when they are registering for orientation, before they can hit submit and officially register, there is a question that asks them if they would like to register for placement exams. And it does provide the link to the majors chart that shows who needs to take which exams. So when they are filling out their orientation registration, they have the option of saying like, yes, I would like to take at least one placement exam. No, I have reviewed the chart and my major doesn't require placement exams. No, I have already submitted ACT or SAT scores that I plan to use for placement purposes in the case of biology or math. Or no, I have AP or dual enrollment credit that has already been received by the university that I will be using for placement purposes. Now, I fully acknowledge this is not a perfect system. Students may just choose a box and say, no, they don't need placement exams, even if maybe they do. But I am hoping that we all see significant improvements to this process. So far, we have seen 341 students register for at least one placement exam this year. This includes 202 biology exams, 173 chemistry exams, and 255 math exams. That is out of 1,044 FIDIACs who are currently registered for orientation. So over a third of the students who are registered for orientation have registered for at least one placement exam. So we're hoping that this continues throughout the summer. As they register for orientation, if they select the box that says, yes, I need to register for at least one placement exam, they choose the subject areas that they want to take their placement exams in, and then they are shown dates that are available that take place at least 1 week prior to their scheduled orientation date. This will ensure that not only are they able to come in and take their placement exams, but that you all should have the scoring information for them in order to meet with them and advise appropriately at orientation. So again, we're really hoping that this makes it smoother for all of you. If there are questions or recommendations, or if you're running into issues as we are moving forward with this process, please let me know. But just based on the numbers alone of folks who are registered for orientation and the feedback that I've been receiving from Kelly and Andy, I do think that this has made it much smoother for the students. Rather than they register for orientation, the next week they're getting an email telling them, hey, you might need to take placement exams, and then pushing them to a different system to register for those. By having it all seamlessly in one system and registering at one time, we're hoping that this really helps them understand the importance of the placement exams and that students are going through with completing them.
Lots of praise in the chat about this new
Awesome.
change.
Great. So again, first time using it on a large scale. So please give me your feedback. I won't take offense to anything if you're like, hey, this portion over here isn't working right or something is off. Please let me know. One thing that this has also allowed us to do is in the Slate queries that I have created for each school or college that show the RSVP numbers, it also does show you when the students are registered for their placement exams. So I know that that was another area that was also difficult to navigate in the past because placement exam registration lived in Astro rather than Slate. We weren't really able to pull those lists, so you could even tell which of your students were registered for placement exams to be able to do any type of outreach if folks did need them and they weren't actually registered for them. So that information should be on those Slate queries. If anybody needs access to those queries that don't currently have them, please let me know and I can take a look. You do have to have a Slate account already, but let me know. I do have to grant access to those queries individually. So I would just need your access ID and to know which query you need for your school or college.
Robin, I have a question.
Yes.
For the placement exams, where is this or when will it take place during their actual orientation day?
So it does not take place on orientation. So that's a great question. So placement exams will still take place prior to orientation. When they are seeing the list of available dates, they will only be shown dates that are at least 1 week prior to their orientation date. So if a student has selected that they are going to come for orientation on Saturday, May 16th, for example, the orientation or the placement exam dates they will see will be May 8th or earlier. They won't see anything for the week of orientation because we want to ensure that they not only take those exams, but that they're scored and you have access to that information prior to the orientation day.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, of course. Other questions? And again, I know this won't solve everything. There will be students who indicate that they're not interested in placement exams. They'll say that they've already sent us test scores and maybe they haven't. But we are hoping that this at least makes a significant improvement in the number of students who are taking the placement exams prior to. Perfect. Any other questions about placement exams?
Robin, for students that do realize after they've signed up for orientation that they really do need placement exams, especially after they've talked to their advisor, is it still the previous process to sign up for them through Astro, or is it different now?
Yeah, so if they realize they need placement exams and they haven't done so prior to attending orientation, you can direct them to us and we can add that to their reservation and get them registered. If they have already attended orientation, then yes, you should direct them to Astro.
Thank you.
Yep. Other questions?
Nothing in the chat.
Okay, awesome. I think that was the last slide I officially had, but just a couple of other things to keep you all updated on as well. Our first FIDIAC orientation date, Saturday, May 16th, is currently at max capacity for most of the advising sessions. There's maybe like 1 or 2 spots in some select areas. If you are talking to students who are interested in the May 16th orientation date, please let them know that those spots are likely all filled up at this time. You are free to Teams me if you want to double check with me if there is a space remaining or if we can accommodate a student. But I would say at this point, if a student you're talking to has not already registered for May 16th, you should be informing them that they would likely need to select another date. Just with that being the first session and with that being a Saturday, it did fill very quickly. The other thing is just if you're meeting with students prior to orientation and they are changing their major, please let me know about that as well. What happens is as you meet with students, if you are changing their majors, through CHOMP and into Banner, those major changes don't push backwards into Slate, which is what we use for the orientation registration. And while sometimes it's fine if it's within the same school or college, if a student drastically changes their major, it does change which advising session they need to go to. And so we do like the Slate records to be updated as well. So that way I have appropriate counts for who is going where, but also just that we're giving them the correct information on where they're supposed to be going at orientation. So if you can just either send me a quick email or a quick Teams chat, letting me know if you're meeting with students prior to orientation that have decided they would like to change their major. I just want to do a double check, change it in Slate, and ensure that their advising session is correct for orientation. If you're meeting with students, again, after orientation, you do not need to let me know about any major changes. You can just process that on their end. I'm not going backwards and changing anything from orientation in Slate. I want those numbers to accurately reflect who attended the various advising sessions. Any questions about that? Perfect. The other thing that I just want to make sure you're all aware of is while we tell students that they need to inform us of any major changes prior to orientation day, as many of you know, we do still allow students to change their major at orientation. We do often have students the morning of, they arrive, they get their name tags, and then they say, hey, actually, I don't want that major anymore. So we do still work with those students to update those majors, and we send those lists along to the liaisons from each of your schools or colleges to inform you of the major changes that impact your area. So again, we are, pushing and promoting that students change their major prior to orientation, but we will always have some students who do change their major day of. So I appreciate all of your flexibility and then working with those students to develop new plans based on their desired major change that day. Any other questions related to orientation in any? Yes, Dawn.
Hello, thank you, Robin. Just a quick question I was thinking of for the parents' participation in orientation. As I was looking, there's several different sessions that they could choose from.
Yeah.
And in the past, I've had some parents ask, if they have to choose between housing, the campus and housing tours, because they want to find out more information about housing, but there's also one for like financial aid at the same time, and they can't obviously attend both. I've had some parents ask if any of those sessions are recorded, that maybe that recording can be made available to the parents later if they want to see what was in the other session. Is that something that we would allow, or that they could come to a different way for them to get that information, I guess, is what I'm asking.
So we don't record the sessions, but I do plan to have all of the materials available. So we're able to upload the presentation materials for the students into Canvas for them to be able to access. I'm still figuring out the best way to be able to share this out with parents and guests. I did reach out to C&IT to see if we could give them access to Canvas. Unfortunately, our population is way too large for them to be able to accommodate that. But likely what we can do is I can create kind of a hidden website where I'm able to upload links to the presentations from there. And then just once they've attended orientation, then they get access to that link. So I'm still working out the best way to do that. But I do plan to make all of those sessions and materials available. Oftentimes, like you're saying, right, there's, the different tours, there's meetings with financial aid at the end of the day. We really tell them to kind of focus on what is the primary concern in that moment. Oftentimes it ends up being financial aid, just because obviously the financial component is such a large piece, and maybe they can't commit to housing until they have the financial aid finalized and figured out. And there are additional ways for them to come back and tour if they are more local and have the ability to come back to campus. And we are working closely with the College Transitions Initiative Office through Latonia Garrett and working with Zach Krug. They plan to offer some college success starter visits during July and August. So these will be opportunities for students to come back to campus, where not only are they getting like a general campus tour, but specifically in small groups, able to go from building to building and more closely look for their specific classrooms. We get that request a lot at orientation, but given the volume of students that we have, it's not possible for us to walk them to each of their classes at orientation day. So those will be another opportunity for folks to come back to campus and get a little bit more of a personalized tour as well.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I think if the students could have access just to the presentation, then they can share that with their parents.
Yes.
Then the parents would feel like they're not missing anything.
Correct.
Because I know that some parents will contact me and say, I couldn't attend the sessions that I wanted, all of them, right? Are there other opportunities? So,
right.
So thank you, Robin. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Housing has virtual tours on their website. And then obviously the Welcome Center, the Warrior One Stop, is open, Monday through Friday. I know that they plan to do some additional virtual sessions as well for folks who have follow-up questions if maybe they weren't able to stop in on orientation day as well.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Other questions?
So two things in the chat. One, suggestion of Linktree, using it as a source to upload and share files and videos.
That's a great idea.
And then another question, what time are the advisors releasing the students after the advising session?
Yeah, so the plan is for the day one celebration to kind of start at about 3 p.m. in the UGL Success Hub. So really right around 3 o'clock, 2:50, 2:55, depending on where you're located, right on campus. You really don't want students being dismissed prior to like 2:45, solely because we won't have things for them to do. Their parents will still be in session, so they won't be able to reconnect with them until about 3. So that is similar timing to last year's as well. Other questions?
The chat is quiet.
Okay.
Anybody else have any last minute questions for Robin or Lindsay?
Not a question, but a huge thank you as from a STEM advisor for getting those placement exams rolled into orientation. I think that's going to make a huge difference this year. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, no, I'm very grateful to Kelly and Andy for working with me to help, launch this. And again, if we're running into issues as we're going through the summer, please let me know. Obviously, you all are talking with the students. I'm running the programming, but I'm not having as many direct conversations with the students and individuals during those days. So please pass along any feedback that you might have for anything that we can maybe update or do differently. Obviously, large scale changes, what's set is kind of set for the summer. But if there's anything small or additional messaging that we can do, those are, easier adds throughout the summer, and we can obviously make any larger scale changes looking at for next season.
Awesome. Lots of thank yous in the chat.
All right, great. Great. If any of you have any follow-up questions after this, please feel free to let me know. Feel free to reach out to me or Lindsay. But otherwise, thank you so much, everybody, for all of the work that you do with the students. And I will see some of you on Friday at transfer orientation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robin. Thanks, everybody. Have a
you.
great day.
Thank you.